I am very pleased to have our next guest join us on this program, and he will be with us in Dallas at Private Exchange Forum too. And he is truly, he and his partners, one of the pioneering firms in this business. And joining us on the phone right now is Alan Cohen, Chief Strategy Officer and co-founder with Liazon. Alan, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, good to have you on the program, my friend.
That's great to be here.
Yeah, give our market a little backgrounder on Liazon and yourself.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, first, myself, I've spent now, 25 years in the kind of benefits business, and so I kind of come from the benefits side of things, the business side of things, as opposed to the technology side. I started one of the first web-based enrollment and communication companies called Online Benefits back in 1996. And in 1996, the first thing you had to do is tell people what the internet was, right? And then explain to them why someday they might be used doing HR services and benefit services over the internet. The company was successful. We had about 5,000 customers, 2 million people on that platform. Company was acquired by a public healthcare IT firm named Adam, and then a little while later went on with Ashok Subramanian, who's our CEO, to start Liazon with the idea of really changing the way in which benefits are offered in this country. The idea that there really is the grand sum of everything we've done now for almost 8 years, is give employees money and let them shop for what they need. And early on, we didn't call that exchange. Right? Frankly, exchange is not the word I would have chosen, right? Because I don't shop at exchanges. You don't shop at exchanges. I mean, unless maybe we're buying pork bellies. We shop at stores, right?
Yeah.
And we like to kind of think about it from a very consumer, focused position, which is, people, shop in stores for all these other things, right? So they should shop for that are right for them and for their families. And so that's kind of how we started the company, and Liazon, we've been doing. That's the only thing we've ever done, for the life of our firm, and then as I'm sure many people know, in November of last year, we were Towers Watson, and continue on our mission of changing the way people buy benefits. Health insurance, of course, is the most important part of that. With the idea that people will do a better job making choices for themselves than any organization could do, and that companies would be best served by letting employees have the keys to the car, so to speak, right? And put them into a scenario or a platform where they can be successful managing their own personal protection and health care and wealth accumulation situation for themselves.
Yeah. It's interesting, Alan. We had Jim O'Connor with CBEZ on prior to bringing you on. I'm not sure you were able to listen, but I know you guys worked together too. And we were both dating ourselves, and I'll date myself with you. I mean, I go all the way back. The first time I met you was when I was co-founder of Employee Benefit News, and when you first co-founded Online Benefits. And we were talking about some parallels, Jim and I, about the 401k market as one that we can certainly look at, and where we went from defined benefit to defined contribution retirement planning. And the other was the movement from indemnity to managed care, and really educating a market on the changing terms. I mean, we're seeing the same thing today, only in probably a more accelerated fashion around defined contribution private exchanges. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I definitely would. I think those are two great analogs. I think that sometimes when you're kind of in it, you feel like change happens slowly, and that companies are never going to change the way they do things. But then you step back and you realize that benefits has been an area of massive change for a long time. You point out the 401k change, the managed care. I mean, that was kind of when I personally started in the business. It was 1989, where if you go back to 87. No companies used managed care just about, and if you fast forward to 95, every company did, right? It was a short period of time. And so I think we're now at the beginning of the next big change in benefits, which is good for consumers, good for employees, and good for employers.
Yeah. What is from your view and experience? What is the biggest benefit for A, the employer, and B, their employees and their families?
Sure. I think you have to step back when you think about benefits and what organizations that people get. I think you have to step back and think about why do companies offer benefits to begin with, right? And really the one reason why companies offer benefits to begin with is to attract and retain employees. We get very caught up in how do we manage healthcare trends and how do we reduce the cost of healthcare, do this and do that. But really, it's not about that, right? It's about attracting and retaining employees. If it was not a requirement, if it was not a economic requirement to offer benefits in order to attract and retain employees, companies wouldn't do it. Again, now the ACA requires companies to offer health insurance, but prior to that, it wouldn't have been done. In fact, we could see that because there's large parts of even the United States, U.S. economy, where it's not part of the, let's call it, employment contract, right? The employment that a person would get benefits, and in those parts of the economy, people haven't gotten them. And so the primary reason why a company offers benefits to begin with is to attract and retain employees, and by offering a private exchange in the right way, which means giving people an appropriate amount of money, having the right store full of benefits, having the right technology and services to help each of the employees kind of make their decisions, you will do a better job at attracting and retaining employees. It is a significantly better benefits offering than what is available in the past for the reason that the people, the employees, are now able to make the choices that are right for them. They're now able to take that money the company spends, which, by the way, on average is over $10,000, right? They're able to take those dollars and use them for what's right for them. And so what is the greatest benefit for the employer and what is the greatest benefit for the employee actually come together in that, right? The employer needs to build a benefit strategy for which they can attract and retain employees, and the best way to do that is to build a strategy that makes the employees as happy as possible. And by making the employees as happy as possible, give them the opportunity to use the money that the company is allocating and the money they want to choose from their own paycheck to purchase a group of benefits or a portfolio of benefits that's right for them, including everything that's right. And what I'm going to choose is going to be different than what you choose. It's going to be different than what everyone chooses.
Alan, as since when you launched Liazon up until now, during this journey, has there, did you kind of look at the market and say, okay, here's where my sweet spot's going to be as far as a customer. It's going to be a company with X number of employee lives. How has that changed? Are you seeing employers from all different sizes looking at the option, or is there still kind of a sweet spot of employers who look to put in these private exchange platforms?
I think actually the answer to both those questions is yes, which is we are definitely seeing all different types of companies of all sizes. We have prospective opportunities, and we have real life clients that range from small companies to companies with more than 10,000 employees, large companies. And so we see interest and opportunities and actual clients across the range. I do think that there is a sweet spot, to use your term, which is I think a good one, in that kind of mid-market, in that companies between, let's say, 100 employees and a few thousand employees. It tends to be where we are seeing the most action. I think companies in that size range it's very important for them to compete for talent, right? It's critical to their success, and frankly, just a little bit better competition against their competitors for talent can make a big difference, for a mid-sized company. They're also very concerned about cost. They also aren't too big that it's almost impossible to change, right? It's not. They haven't built the edifice around a benefit strategy or a health insurance strategy. They haven't, cemented that strategy over decades of work with, their own kind of internal teams and consultants out there that it's hard to change, right? So So those, mid-sized companies we find, both are most attracted to the idea of doing something different and doing something that should really increase their ability to attract and retain employees and control costs. And also they're able to change much more rapidly than, let's say, a very, very large company is able to.
Alan, and kind of along the same lines, for my question is there a specific challenge with, say, a company with 100 employees in implementing a private exchange versus the challenge that you may face with an employer who has, let's say, 3,000 employee lives? What are you facing there? Any difference?
I think there's not a difference in what you need to do, but there's difference in kind of your ability to do it, let's say. Because I think it's critical to understand that the move to a private exchange is a big change, and I think that too often, and we tend to do this as well, and I think it's to our disservice and others in the industry. Too often we try to position it as, no, it's not so different, it's okay, it's going to be easy to change. First of all, any change is difficult, and done the right way, this really is a pretty large change, because and when I say done the right way, what I mean is you really need to explain to employees now that they're the ones who are going to spend these dollars. You need to build a big store full of benefits, lots and lots of choices, for them to make, for them to choose. A brand new technology that they've never used before, a new support system on how to support those consumers. It actually, although sometimes it feels like you should make the prospective customer feel like it's not a big change, and then maybe they'll buy. Except that's a bad strategy, right? You should make sure that they know that it's a big change, but all good things, right, are a big change, right? And so a company of 100 employees, it's just less people that have to communicate to you, right? Less people that have to be involved in the change than a company of 5,000 or 10,000 employees. And so the things you have to do are the same, but certainly a smaller organization, it's kind of easier. They're more nimble. It's easier to even a simple thing like try to explain to 100 people what this is all about. It's easier to do it to 100 people than it is to 100,000 people, right?
Right. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. Hey, Alan, talk to me a little bit about this changing role for the broker advisor. I mean, there's some trying to disintermediate the advisors. We can talk about the Zenefits of the world that are, trying to take the broker advisor out. There's some broker advisors taking themselves out by not really looking at embracing this. What's an advisor need? What does an advisor need to do to stay relevant in this exchange marketplace?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, a great line of discussion. I think that there is a talk track out there that says that exchanges mean disintermediate the broker. Exchanges mean you don't need an advisor anymore. And I actually think it is absolutely the opposite. I actually think that exchanges are heralding a golden age for employee benefit advisors, but maybe particularly the best employee benefit advisors, right? It kind of raises the stakes on what does it mean to be a good and successful employee benefit advisor. And so why do I say that? I say that because in the world of an exchange, the advice and counsel that you give to your client now is simply far more complex and far-reaching, and the services that you need to deliver to your customer are far-reaching than who's got the best rate on such and such plan this year. I mean, honestly, that's a world that maybe brokers are not that needed for, right? If we open up ratings so companies can get their own rates, right, and that's over. But in this world, let's think about all the things that have to be done. First of all, choosing the right exchange. There's lots of them out there. I mean, we certainly believe that the Bright Choices Exchange and the partners that we work with the top brokers in the country, we think we're the right choice. But there's lots of other choices out there, and they're not all the same. It's very complicated. It's like multi-dimensional complications on how different they are. And so giving your client advice on which kind of exchange to plug yourself into is a very complex consulting exercise, actually far more complex than hey, United, Aetna, and Blue Cross, who do you think, right? The second thing is, once you've made the choice on moving to a marketplace or an exchange environment, you now have to make dollar decisions on how much money you should allocate to your employees and how should you divide that money up. Should you earmark money for certain things? Should you give people, more money if they do things that, like wellness credits and if they do things to keep them healthy? That again it's a very complex discussion. It's far-reaching. It's a CFO discussion, right? It's a discussion about the budget of the company, and so that's a really important area to consult on, and it's far more difficult than kind of, let's say, the old world. The next thing is the store. I mean, when now you're choosing the store of benefits. Like we at Liazon, we have a slew of kind of pre-built stores. We've already negotiated with the carriers, and here's a great shelf full of choices. But there's a number of options in there, and we also let customers customize that. And so, what choices should be available to employees? And if we make these choices available, how many you think will pick this and how many think will pick that? Again, it's a very complex consulting that has to be done. Then after that, so after people now make choices, now I believe the advisor's goal is to deliver service to not the HR person, but the people, right? Everyone who now has all those insurance products, let's imagine we get a store of medical choices and dental choices and critical illness and accident, supplemental hospital and short-term disability, long-term disability, and life insurance and wellness programs, identity theft programs, and legal programs, ... And every person has a different combination or portfolio of those benefits. Well, now I believe it's the employee advisor's role to make sure that they're serving the needs of those people. So it's no longer just serving the human resources office. It's actually serving the individuals and helping them kind of manage their personal portfolios of benefits. And so you put that all together, and that's actually, you really need an employee benefit advisor far more in an exchange world. A company needs it far more in an exchange world than they ever did in a pre-exchange world. And what we see is the best insurance brokers, the best consultants, the best advisors, they're all raising their game. They're becoming, schooled in all these different areas. They're thinking about service in a totally different way, thinking about how do we serve the employees and not just the HR office. They're working with carriers to put together, unique offerings, unique store configurations. And so I think what we'll see is we'll see a kind of, the cream to the top. We'll see a differentiation in the future where insurance brokers and advisors who don't, become experts in this area, who don't raise their game in a way to deliver the services that are necessary, will have difficulty. But the ones that do, than they had in the past, and frankly, I think the analog that we talked about before, managed care and even 401ks is a great analog again. The advisors who became the managed care experts were massively successful in the new world. The ones who kind of stuck by indemnity saw their business dwindling, right? Advisors who became...
That's great. Yeah. No, that's a great analogy, Alan. It's at a conference I was at recently speaking to 300 owners of firms. One of the other gentlemen that was speaking with me on the keynote panel, he looked out at the audience. He says, you've really got to become truly advisors. You can't be just a benefit broker, and you got to get out from under that warm and fuzzy renewal blanket. And he's right, and you're saying the same thing. I mean, there's a huge role for the right progressive advisors that truly are committed to helping their client and helping their clients, employee, consumers, and families. Well said. I mean, that absolutely. Alan, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of leave our audience with a couple takeaways, if you would, please.
Sure. I think that, again, when you imagine the world of an exchange, you have to focus on the consumer. The consumer, the employee and the employee's family, which now are consumers, is really the centerpiece of that world. And everything you think about from the dollars you allocate to the store that you offer, to the technology that you choose, to the services that you provide, it is going to win and lose on that dimension, on how well you serve that individual and all those individuals. And so putting the consumer in the center of that strategy is critically important. And it's frankly, it's easy to not do that because the old world of benefits never thought about, that individual person, right? Thought about everyone as a population. And so we all need to kind of rethink things in this different way and put the person in the middle. And if you're wondering about, are you doing right pursuing this strategy? If it does right for the consumer, if it helps the consumer more, then you're doing the right thing. And that's the kind of most important thing. And frankly, I think it's important to see this is a revolution, but it's also an evolution. For the last 30 years, we have put more and more emphasis on the individual as opposed to the organization. Managed care was part of that. Voluntary benefits is part of that. Flex benefit plans is part of that. This is now just the ultimate evolution where we now can, focus our energy, time, and resources on what's right for each of these individuals and help them all. And that's really what an exchange is all about.
Yeah, that's well said, Alan. It's been a real pleasure having you on. And to our listeners, before I let Alan go, you will be able to come and hear Alan talk over a lunch and learn session at Private Exchange Forum coming up in Dallas on March 31st. And Alan, we look forward to having you down there with us. And you have a great weekend.
I look forward to it too. Have a great weekend. It was nice talking to you.
Thanks, Alan.
Take care.